All right. Okay, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 3.0 is to approve the meeting agenda. I motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Agenda's approved. All right, 4.0 are acknowledgements and recognitions. Nothing specifically on the docket this evening. 5.0 are recognition of visitors and community comments. Community comments is an opportunity for the public to address the school board on an item included in the agenda in accordance with the guidelines printed at the end of the agenda. We don't have anybody signed up tonight. But we will just welcome everybody who's tuned in here in the room and also online. Glad to have you here on this smoky day in July. All right, 6.0 are our reports. And first one up, 6.1 is the principal's report. We have Mr. Josh Belangi here with us this evening. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So far this summer, just to recap on what we've been doing. I've been out the last couple of weeks for the month of July, but in June, we were able to meet with some members from our BLT team and hammer out the math and ELA curriculum pacing guides for grades K through 5. So basically just all the curriculum over the course of the year, when each grade is going to be teaching it throughout the year, just kind of reduce that cognitive load off the teachers when they come back to school, like it's already planned out and set for them, as well as dialing in the K-5 master schedule. And then this summer, we also worked on we're calling it a micro schedule, where we were able to put in on the schedule, like when math will be happening for 3rd grade, when English will be happening for 2nd grade. Again, these are things that in the past workshop week was spent trying to figure out when you're gonna fit everything in. And with BLT, myself, Lacey, and Stephen, we created that already. So we're really excited to be able to roll into workshop week with a lot of that work done. For the teachers. Summer programming and for elementary, we still have our pre-K summer school going on. We have about 20 students in that. Our targeted services program finished July 2nd, and we served 20 SATU students on math and reading learning goals. Looking ahead at next year, we just got notification yesterday that we're up to 31 students currently enrolled in our pre-K program and still accepting more. Kindergarten, we are at around 16 students currently enrolled. We're always interested in that number. And then also another addition to our Sawtooth curriculum plan this year, we're going to be introducing a social emotional learning program, K-5 in Sawtooth. So every classroom is going to be working with Character Strong with specific social emotional learning curriculum. With our middle school and high school students right now, summer programs, we've got a couple of students who are doing credit recovery. Driver's ed is going on. There's some strength and conditioning happening. And also on our end, what we're working on is introducing next year an electronic pass system for middle school and high school students. So previously it's the old paper pass and walk around with it. But now we're able to, through our student management system, Infinite Campus, students can essentially request a pass electronically and that gets approved. And then like we can set a time limit. Like if you're going to the bathroom during class, there's generally like a 5-minute expectation that you're there and back in time. And so students get approved and they can like go to the bathroom and then get back in time and clear their pass. And what that does is it tracks it for us. And so it gives us a good data point on like, for some kids, how often are you out of class? Also can be something where, you know, we're redoing the bathrooms up in the high school. We're going to have 9 bathroom stalls there that students can use. You can max that area at 9 bathroom passes at once. So across the whole middle school and high school, if there's 9 kids already going to the bathroom, then the system will not let the 10th person go until that pass is cleared because there's no place to go. So it alleviates the problem sometimes of like, you know, you always see, oh, it's funny how all of a sudden at the same time, kids at different classes end up in the bathroom together, right? And so it kind of helps us manage that a little bit and really takes away from the teachers having to worry about it and think about it and being the ones to say no. The system does it. And before I came here, the year before I came here, the high school I was at piloted a program like this in a 2,500 kid high school. It was great. Just amazing. For me, I can look through and see, students who are on approved passes in the hallway. And so if I see a student and they're not on that list, then it's a really easy question like, hey, why are you in the hall? You're supposed to be in class, that type of thing. So we got that capability and now we're just building that out this summer. And then I was able to go with a couple of other staff members the end of June to an AI for Minnesota conference in St. Cloud. It had industry leaders, community leaders, and educational leaders at this conference, and it was great. And it's all wrestling with how AI is showing up in schools and what we are doing as schools to work with it because it's here, and what kind of policies we're putting in place, practices we're putting in place. And so in our handbook update later, you'll see there's some kind of like just base level policies that we're putting into our student handbook, staff handbooks when it comes to AI use. And then also in a couple of weeks, I'll be going down to the University of Minnesota for a conference with the College of Education and Human Development. And the main areas that they're focusing on there, again, is teaching and learning in the age of AI and how we can turn the tide on some of this chronic absenteeism that we're not just seeing here, but schools all over are kind of wrestling with. So it's my summer update.
I'm curious about the electronic hall pass, like in terms of like how you operationalize that. Like, is that something you guys have started to mess with? Because sometimes it's like, this is all great, but then it's like clunky to do, and then you can move away from it, kind of a deal.
Right. So yeah, so we've already kind of planned for like what happens when, because mainly the initial point is through the student's own personal computer that they're all provided, through their Infinite Campus account, that's where they request it. So what happens with the kid who comes to school without their laptop charged or forgot their laptop? We're going to be able to have a device in each classroom as basically like a kiosk for kids who can't access it for whatever reason through the already school provided technology device. Things like that, we've kind of, we're wrestling with and figuring out how to manage. Yeah.
Might be incentive to bring the computer.
What's that?
Might be incentive.
It will definitely, because yes, that is something we've talked about. That will motivate. Instead of having to go up to the kiosk in front of the desk and put in a request for a pass, you can just do it from your own seat.
Sure.
So I should have been paying attention. I'm sure. So what is this for all grade? What grades? Is
No, this is just middle school and high school.
Okay, that's okay. Good.
We're not going to be expecting the kindergartners to manage that.
That's what
It's a little more urgent.
Yeah. So just in our secondary.
One other quick question regarding the scheduling in elementary that you said you were starting to do.
Yep.
Is that like, is the idea there just to help the teachers like with just sort of an efficiency thing so that they can hit the ground running?
Yes.
Or is it to build in some sort of like simulation of like class periods or something like that as the kids get older?
The main goal is the first to take that off their plate, and it's still open if like a grade level team wants to adjust it, like we can still do that. But we're going to be able to deliver to them at first day workshop, basically everything planned out and scheduled. And then also too, there is some changes in the schedules that families will see. We're switching things around a little bit to, in the past, we've had 10 however many, not 10, sorry, that's middle school. However many specials classes we've had in the past, like the kids have been in all of them all year long. And one of the things that we're doing this year is we're going to reduce the number of specials classes that kids will have at one time. But so instead of having like art every quarter, every fourth day, which is what it was in the past, they're going to have art every other day for a semester, for half a year. So it's going to reduce the amount of different classes that the kids are in at one time. They're still going to have the same number of class periods over the course of the year, but it's just going to reduce that a little bit for the kids and for our teachers too. Some of our teachers who are teaching K through every single grade, it's going to take some of those grade levels off their plate too. So just making that a little bit more efficient.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And you get a little bit more continuity in the learning for the kids too.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Good stuff.
All right.
So summers are for.
Right. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Let's see, 6.2 superintendent report.
Thank you. I will skip over the two items I have in my report regarding construction because Jason will cover them And I just want to mention the last item in my report was, I've gotten a couple questions from parents of preschoolers and Y kids this week about, do you close school with air quality at some point? And, the general answer is no. We can provide masks. We have air filtration systems running. Tom is reducing the air intake from the outside significantly, so we manage some of that in the back end. Parents always have the ability to keep kids home if they feel like it's safer for their kiddo to be home. But no, air quality alone is not a reason that we would shut her down. I think if it got to be 95 and bad air quality, we might then have to really think if kids can't get down here to the auditorium area where it's air conditioned, we may have to close the day or whatever. But bad air quality days have been around and they continue to be around. I don't think they're going anywhere. So that's the answer to that question. And Lacey communicated that out with the families over the past couple of days. The rest will be covered by Jason when he gets to his stuff.
All right, sounds good. All right, moving on to the consent agenda 7.0. If there's anything that needs to be pulled for further discussion, say so now. Otherwise, we just need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Consent agenda adopted. 8.0 are our discussion and action items. 8.1 is to accept the expenditure and revenue report for June of 2025. And,
Miss Oberg is in San Diego, so she's
or
not.
excuse me. Is it June or is it May? On my electronic version, it says May.
Oh, mine says June.
Yeah, this one says me.
Oh, on the electronic agenda, sorry. For the actual,
Document says June.
okay, sorry.
Teresa's not here, so I'll just share that what caught my attention is if you look at the Gen Ed revenue, it looks like the revenue for General Education Fund 1 is like 3 million over budget. That is all, that's purely accounting. This time of year now, what Teresa will do is move money that came into Fund 1 as revenue and move it into Fund 7 and a little bit into Fund 4. So that that's basically the tax dollars that all flow in. And then she has to, for the debt service, she has to push it into Fund 7. So when you see this, your fiscal 26 reports, it's not going to say that we have 3 million more in revenue than we budgeted for.
That's too bad.
I know, right? Yeah, and you can see the debt service line, it's only at 69-70%. So a million and a half at least will go into Fund 7.
Okay. Great.
Otherwise, everything's pretty on target. And the next look at fiscal 26 will be the audit. When we get into that.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
No, you need a motion.
Yeah,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
You're up, Jason.
Motion carries. All right, well, good, because my electronic agenda, I had June's up. Or no wonder I was
No wonder
thinking.
you're-
Everything up to that point was the same until that. Sorry about that. Okay, 8.2, we have a review of our phase 2 construction documents. We have Jason Philippik from ICS here, our project manager, to help us walk through this
With another remarkable.
with another big
I was printing for
print.
over budget here.
On the other hand, my daughter loves these things. So she's like, big paper, and she draws on the, yeah.
That's funny.
She's gonna be thrilled.
You can bring a couple home. We'll all get-
I might take Carrie's, yeah.
I didn't. Did you already give it to
Eric already,
Eric?
it's already been claimed by Eric's daughter, sorry.
It's like, I'm happy to share.
Here.
So my presentation is a little more consolidated version of what you all have in front of you. But again, Jason Philippek here to provide the construction update. We will review the referendum 1 project, the budget, furniture for referendum 1. And then for referendum 2, we will go through contract documents and discuss next steps. For referendum 1, we do have our budget printed up here. The recent updates include pay application 18. That was for $1,663,000, and that was for work completed in June. There have only been minor change orders approved for approximately $17,000, and those were related to minor plumbing adjustments and field-related direction, additional demo and such that wasn't documented on the plans. The budget for referendum 1 is on track, and there are no risks at this point with referendum 1. Are there any questions? Regarding furniture, so we do have a furniture budget of approximately $314,000. We have reviewed and ordered furniture for the cafeteria and both of the media centers, and then a few other odds and ends that we anticipate using this year. Here are the renderings of the furniture for the cafeteria. And then here is the high school media center. The only item we haven't ordered is this zigzag couch, which we're kind of on the fence about what that really should look like. The high school media center construction will not be done this year, but we ordered the furniture ahead because it could be used.
Some cost savings.
Cost savings as well. We did order the elementary media center furniture also. We are holding the procurement for the administrative offices until next year. And the bookshelves for the elementary media center are pending. They weren't currently in the budget, but they are desired. So we're hoping to fit those in when we get closer to the end. Any other questions about furniture? On to the construction documents for referendum 2. So today we will focus this meeting on reviewing the final drawings for referendum 2. Just as an update here, the design process has went through the schematic design, through the design development, which was the second phase of the design, and now we have completed the construction documents here, or also called contract documents. So this is what we will be reviewing today. We are not requesting any board action today. At the August 6th meeting, that is when we will review the estimate and the bidding process, and at that time, we'll request approval to proceed. Just as a highlight before we get into the drawings here, so in the athletics area, the updates included the track surfacing, synthetic turf, the grading elevation, the retaining wall, and then also the scoreboard location. Those are the kind of things we focused on in this last revision of the drawings. There was also quite a bit of work in the baseball area. So we did focus on the grading and the topsoil there, the bleacher location, and how we were going to reuse the bleachers from the visitor side of the track. We worked on the lighting and also accessible parking over there. And then the outdoor learning spaces really focused on the ADA compliant sidewalks, the ramps, and also flexible furniture for the front courtyard. So with the athletics area here, we did bring in track and turf vendor, two different vendors to showcase their products and go over the different types of materials that could be used here. We did this with April and Martin, and they came to an agreement on what that specification should look like for those products. We've also finalized our elevation for the field and the track. And here is actually an elevation of that retaining wall to give you guys kind of an idea of how that's going to look as you wrap around the corner here. So the retaining wall varies from about 3 feet to around 10 to 12 feet. So as we go around this corner, it's going to be around 12 feet high, and then it's going to drop back down to grade. The retaining wall will be the same type of construction as you can see in the back right now. So those big, heavy blocks. We also spent quite a bit of time identifying the scoreboard location, and it still seems like we're a little on the fence there. I think I would kind of agree with that. So the first consensus was that we should have it over here. Provide visibility for the stands and anyone that may be seated up here. There were some questions about maintenance that kind of led us to putting it pretty close to where it is now, but maybe more angled so you could still see it from up here.
I've been thinking about that a little bit, Jason, and I was wondering if, and also the lake view, right, was also a component, you know, in that consideration from the stands. So considering that element, like I was wondering if on the far eastern end, if is that like a potentially viable location? Like, yeah, like the midpoint, like more like that. So it would be straight on, you know, opposite, you know, from the plaza opposite, but is it, you know, still visible at that angle from?
I think that would be a real easy place to put it, honestly, because the retaining wall over here is going to be a bit lower, and we could easily just push it a little farther east without affecting the grade in this other area.
And what was the maintenance concern for the others? That kind of southeast.
The sign itself, the sign vendor said, hey, we don't anticipate any maintenance, but if you do, you would need some kind of lifting equipment to get to the sign.
Okay.
And then moving that equipment across the track and the turf is kind of a question.
So if it's on top of a 12-foot retaining wall, you just have like some challenges getting up to it, and maybe if you can't drive a truck down to it,
Yes,
you know.
but and that would be an issue on the eastern corner there too, I suppose, because you'd have to go over the track.
Retaining wall is shorter over
The
there.
retaining wall is a little shorter. I don't know what if there would be a possibility of driving a truck down there. Is that just going to be, is that just going to be grass or?
I think it would just be grass, yeah.
I don't know. That was just another thought I had just as we're trying to, you know, consider the variables. So.
Yeah, we discussed, you know, glare with the sun and those sort of things with the manufacturer, and they didn't have any concern about that.
I think you'd have to be careful on that east side not to put it so that the goalpost block part of the sign from the view,
Sure.
like where you placed it.
Yep.
Because it could be like, I don't know,
So in a suit point.
For sure. I mean,
it's like sitting behind a post at the
Right.
Target Center.
the devil's in the details on this one, right? It's like it just could go sideways if it's not quite executed right, wherever it is.
Right.
So. Who ends up installing that? Like, what does that process look like? Do you know?
So the vendor we've been talking to is Daktronics, and they're from South Dakota. They're not terribly far away from here, and they do have support in Minnesota.
They did our other boards too, Daktronics.
Okay.
But once they're installed, I mean, they should run for 10 years without
Right.
any issues.
I'm just wondering about like, is there a way for us to like simulate this or something with like the variables that we have at play? Like, do they do that sort of thing?
No, I think that would fall to CAD.
Yeah.
They would make some kind of rendering of this.
Yeah.
Or this could be a high school AI project.
Now that I mention it, that could also be a problem the other direction too.
The goal.
Where you put the,
Hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, the place we'd have it on the drawing right now.
Right now, it's right down here.
That's on the other side of the path,
Yep, right here.
right there.
okay, there
So
wouldn't.
having it there, your sight line is clear to the stands.
Yeah.
And it's also gonna be clear to 99% of that hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just right behind the concession stand is the only place you won't be able to see it. So from a
Yeah.
sightline standpoint, it works.
Yeah, down there better.
Yeah. And especially if you
Also forgetting. in-
kind of turn it a little
Slap it.
bit to don't like line it up straight with the bleachers, but kind of have it,
Midpoint on the hill.
like
Yeah,
Yep, have it
lined up
turned.
at the sideline kind of deal.
yes, I agree.
And then, on the left side there'd be a
Yeah, I'm
list.
kind of in favor of leaving it there.
Yeah.
Just angling it correctly.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Regarding the baseball field, so we did do some evaluations on the topsoil here and how we're going to accomplish that grading. We also talked with the bleacher manufacturer about how the visitor bleachers that are existing on the field can be relocated over on this side here. They will be located directly behind home plate here, and there will be a concrete pad below that with a sidewalk down to a couple of accessible parking spots here. There will also be new lighting. There's one discus
Pad,
pad here, and then one shot put pad over here.
that's aggregate, right? Yep. And just so the board knows, our coaches are working with some local volunteers and parents and possibly putting another discus pad on the northwest corner of the field.
This way.
Yep, they would pour it on their own and put it in on their own, donated time and product. Just so you have a east-west, a throwing to the west and a throwing to the east option for wind.
Regarding the outdoor learning spaces, so in the Sawtooth Garden, we work on the grading here to make sure that this is more of a flat surface here, but it's still going to be elevated. It's going to be elevated to this amphitheater style seating. So there will be a ramp up to these concrete seating structure here. And the focus here is on that mosaic, the existing mosaic there. So we have an ADA ramp and sidewalk. We also do have accessible planters up here, but we will retain that existing archway. So maintaining some of the features that are already desirable there and then also improving them. In the front, we focused on the furniture here. So selecting furniture that was mobile. The benches, we want to make sure that if there is snow, we have a way to move these around, but also move them around because we may utilize them differently for different functions. In the center of this colored concrete here is the storm drainage. So the storm water will run to that center there. Any questions on this area? On to the buildings on the field. So the focus here was the concessions area and making sure that we have food service equipment. And everything is really tied together and reviewed by the state. So we have a real good plan on how we're going to get through those health inspections and that sort of thing. We also did review the finishes in the bathroom. So it will have a sealed concrete floor, and the paint on the walls will be an epoxy paint. So it'll be durable for an outdoor building. The storage area stayed the same as it was in the previous review. We have 3 different units, one for football, one for the maintenance, and then one for track. And we can adjust the sizes here once we really refine that equipment. So the bathrooms here will empty to a holding tank. And I have reviewed that with the city. It will be 5,000 gallons. So we do have a good plan for that as well. The reason it's not going to the city sewer is it would have to actually go to the road by the bus garage. And that was a long route.
Inexpensive.
It doesn't go to a drain field, it just goes into a holding tank.
Yep. Onto the bleachers here. So we have our bleachers, which really remained the same as well, 672 seat capacity. And our press box has 2 coaches rooms, 1 on each side, and then the media room in the center. We will have wall heat. That'll be added electrical wall heaters. And then power and data, we're kind of the focus on that. The theater, so there was quite a bit of work the design team did with the theater group Sue over the last month and a half, really focusing on the lighting and the lighting controls and then the motorized structures here. So there will be 2 new structures and several new light fixtures in the theater. And then a new lighting control system. There will also be a new retractable projector screen that drops down from the center here. And the theater team has some sound equipment that they want to put in. So we did identify how that should be installed and where that should be located. And we did provide additional cable tray for future upgrades. For the audio, so we did identify a location for a central control panel. So down here, there will be a swing door to have access to the
aisle.
The aisle.
Yeah.
And a place for Sue to place a table to control the audio during different performances. We're also going to take out the microphone boxes that are in the stage and then move those connections to the walls. We did identify a new seat. So we did bring in, 5 or 6 different options, and we did identify which one was suitable or desirable. And we're working through paint and the flooring. So right now, we are reviewing these construction documents. I am finalizing the estimate with the contractors that are currently on site here. And then at the next board meeting, we will review the budget and the bidding process. For project updates, so the demolition and interior construction is ongoing. We do have painting taking place right now. Tile and flooring will be coming in the next week. So activity is pretty strong. We have around 40 guys on site right now, and we anticipate, 50 to 60 in the next couple weeks. Regarding the exterior work, so they have started pouring the concrete. And we are planning to install the precast wall panels for the gym on July 27th.
You get a big crane.
Say that again? Precast?
July 27th, yeah.
So on the topic of the workers and the air quality, do we anticipate that being an issue for them? Like, do we know?
It will be today. Will it be on Monday? No. We had the same approach you did. Hey, make up your own choices here. So today, they said, hey, I don't want to be here, going home.
Yeah,
On Monday, we're going to talk, well, what are you going to do to keep on going here?
yeah. Right. Do you know if there's provisions like in their contracts? Like, are you guys party to their like labor contracts or anything like
Well,
that?
everyone has to comply with the OSHA
Sure.
requirements, and that's pretty much the baseline for everyone.
Yeah.
And there are no OSHA requirements for air quality. So it's.
Yeah.
Moved.
All right. Well, hopefully it just clears up and becomes less of an issue.
Yes, because I can see where somebody would want to work outside today.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But I think there'll be a plan in place by Monday, right? So give everybody a chance to get their head wrapped around, the new norm here for a second and push forward after that.
They get masks. They got masks. Those N1 masks.
Exactly.
Guys working outside, probably would want that. Inside, we'll be bringing a couple more of those HEPA filters.
Which they have throughout the project already.
Sure.
So again, we're not asking for any kind of approval today. We will at the next meeting when we present the estimate and the bidding process.
You'll be getting estimates from our contractors now, right? That's what you're doing?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Perfect.
Any questions?
It's great.
Stop sharing there, Jason. There we are. All right, so we'll see you in 3 weeks for approval of construction documents and, oh no, you need, this will be approved in 3 weeks, right?
Yep, we don't need any approval today. We'll do this all.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Drive safely on your way back to Duluth.
Okay. All right, let's see here. We're gonna move on to 8.3, which we have the first reading of updated policy 613 graduation requirements.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I can speak to this a little bit, and so can Josh. And Josh, you can step up if you want to just join, but later on, well, in your agendas, there's a supporting document there that says draft graduation guide summary. That document is part of the registration materials that kids get every year when they register for classes, and it articulates what we our students need to take for ELA, for math, for science, for social studies, ed, fine arts. Personal finance was added by the legislature, I think 2 years ago or a year ago. And then how many elective credits? And that elective credits number then creates the total of you need 27 or 27 and a half or 28 credits to graduate. The district, when they adopted a block schedule back in like 2014, they set that threshold at 27. And when we compare ourselves to other high schools, it really should have been 28. 28, what that does in a block schedule is it says you can basically have one open hour every year and graduate with enough credits. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you've all been to high school, you know, usually you take a full load your freshman and sophomore year, and then you try to have a couple open hours your senior year or something like that, if you're depending on what your plan is. So the number never got moved up to 28 in the past. So currently you can see in the bottom of that document, class of 28 is going to need 27 and a half. That's the first group that has that personal finance requirement that was added. And then the class of 29, we're proposing that go then up to 28. So they would have to take one more block for a semester.
Will that help with elective enrollment then?
Yes.
I like it.
That's part of the goal here too. You know, we shouldn't have kids with free open hours, like take a full load.
Yeah.
So even prior to this, policy 613 was not actually correct or current. So as we looked at this, we were like, ooh, we're out of line anyway. So thus, if you look at policy 613, the change is on page 3, where we just say a minimum of 11 elective credits, and then students graduating in 2029 and later must complete a minimum of 11 and a half elective credits to get us to that 28 credit total threshold. That's the only change in policy 613, but it is substantial. So I opted for 3 readings. It's not clerical, it's actually a change in requirements.
For sure.
So that's what it is, and the rationale is a little bit of what Eric just said, like fill out our elective seats, keep our kids coming to school here as much as we can, and if you're a college-bound kid, you really should be taking a full load. So,
And so the class of 28
this
is
year,
Our juniors this year.
so. Okay, so they've got to add the additional class, and the class of 29 are the sophomores.
Sophomores.
They're the kids that are going into their sophomore year.
correct.
Okay, so they have time
Plenty of room.
to do that. Okay.
Yep.
I was curious as far as like this breakdown, this table here of the different departments and the classes that account for the different. How much of this is dictated by statute?
A lot.
Yeah. Do you happen to know, like offhand, like as far as what classes like qualify? Is there any sort of local discretion on that, or is that like defined?
That's a good question. The discretion sometimes comes when we're talking about what is a fine arts credit and what isn't. Sometimes there's debate there, like, can you get a fine arts credit for a shop class? Sometimes the answer to that is yes, as long as they meet the standards, state standards that are articulated for fine arts.
Okay.
So there's wiggle room there. Sometimes an English class counts as a fine arts credit.
Sure.
Yeah, it says creative writing,
Yeah,
media.
yeah. So the trick is making sure you're addressing the standards.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the other check and balance is the licensure of the instructor teaching it, whether they have the license to teach it. So there's like the academic standard and then the licensure standard.
Sure. Okay. So like in the social studies block, or like Native American studies class, that isn't,
That's an elective.
and that wouldn't count because the standard, or it doesn't meet the standard or whatever.
Of the required classes for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Um. Gotcha, and that's not really something that we have control over.
Right.
Um,
You know, almost every department can have elective classes,
sure,
right?
For sure.
So it's up to them to create them and make them fun.
yeah. Okay.
So in terms of procedures, we don't need action on item 8.3. This is just a first reading. Circle back to it in a second reading and then we'll take action on it at a third board meeting.
Now, as far as just that process goes, if there was like a discussion on a particular thing, or maybe we wanted to make an adjustment or something. I'm not proposing anything, I'm just curious. Does that start the clock over? Like, let's say we said, well,
No, not necessarily.
we want to make it 29 and a half.
The whole reason to have the two input or readings is to provide opportunity for public or staff or whoever to come here and give input. And then at that third meeting, we can approve it with modifications or without modifications
Okay,
at the discretion of the board.
okay. Sounds good.
Or you can table it for one more meeting.
Sure. Okay. Great. Perfect. I appreciate you guys working on that. That seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay. All right, so we don't need to take action on that, so we'll go ahead and move on to 8.4, which is to approve the 2026 policy updates, and we've got a spreadsheet with a whole slate here.
This happens twice a year usually, as a result of legislative changes that have happened. So MSBA has gone through all of them, given us red line copies. Kay's worked her way through it. Cleaned them up. And because it's legislative stuff that changed, you can all just do it in one meeting, one motion. You don't have to go through 3 readings and blah, blah, blah.
Sure. Okay.
And we pay for this service with MSBA. It's like $1,000 a year, $1,200 a year, and it's very worth it because they've got lawyers that are doing all the legal work on our behalf.
Right. Is there anything in here that stood out to you necessarily, like at least what rolled out from the legislature that might be like new?
No, nothing major. Other than I think we should have probably not put 613 on this list because
That's what I was wondering about.
technically we need to have 3 readings on 613.
Yeah.
So
Right.
maybe in our motion we'll say except for 613.
Yeah, okay.
The other one that evolved, 721, the procurement policy, that really got flagged for us when we had a special education finance audit. And they flagged that policy as not being up to date. So MSBA has been working on this for the last 6 months, trying to get that. So all districts will now have an up-to-date policy 721 on procurement that will meet special ed requirements at the federal level. So that was one that we spent some time on, just because we had to deal with the special education rules. But other than that, no, nothing stood out as a big thing.
All right. So we want to approve this minus 613, which we're doing 3
Yeah,
readings
I'm just gonna
on.
write it in my notes here.
I'd make a motion to approve the 2026 policy updates outside of policy 613.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you to Kay for all the hard work.
Yes.
Yep, we appreciate this
Detail,
format
detail,
here and everything.
So much detail.
I know.
Well, and to have all of the like details be converted for us and
Yeah.
not like the notes and the things kind of just be lingering there. That's super helpful. All right. So moving on to 8.5, we've got a new health insurance proposal, so. Let's see here, pull that up.
Yeah, so it's no surprise to the board. We've talked about this quite a bit. We went out for a HITA bid, and meaning NIS on our behalf. Procured bids from Pete from Blue Cross Blue Shield Health Partners, and then the Medico one that we're currently on. And even with a 34.9% increase with Medica, it's still the smallest increase. It's the best bid. We've also been studying the possibility of moving to an ICHRA plan. We're still studying that. It's a very, very, very different model that would require a lot of staff learning. So, and it didn't, we had the winners and the losers within our own staff. And so that didn't feel like a good move. And we're continuing to take a look at the Teamsters self-funded health plan, which was kind of brought to us late in the game. We don't feel comfortable going there now because it would require some significant changes for our staff and what the plans offer, but we're not taking it off the table. We want to continue to study it and look hard at it and see if it's an option. So after 6 months of, kind of going around and around and around on this, the recommendation here in your tentative motions is to approve renewing the district's health insurance plans through the Minnesota Healthcare Consortium for 26-27, which is basically means no change. Same 4 plans, same insurance, just pay more money.
Surprise.
But not as much money as we thought. It's a little
It
bit.
got negotiated down, 5% or so.
And is that something like, I was just looking here and I see we've got our broker and their commission, et cetera, is listed out here. Is that like something that, when it comes to negotiating that, is that something that this broker is helping us with?
That's what they do. Yeah, they do all the negotiating on our behalf and collection of bids, analyzing all the bids, getting it to look apples to apples and bringing all that information to the insurance committee, which includes someone from both Teamsters groups and the teachers group with Teresa and I, and we sit and they walk us through the side-by-side comparisons. Because none of us know how to do all that. It's a lot of acrobatics. And then they ultimately make their recommendation to us. And right
But
now,
ultimately, like this increased,
no, go ahead.
this increase is like 5% of our total budget, right? The budget's 7 million and the increase is 360. That's like more than 5%.
It's a huge,
It's a chunk of like what the entire school's budget is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Crazy.
it's nuts.
Well, and so it's like, that's the total cost, and then the cost of the district is like what we negotiate with the
Each
bargaining
bargaining
group. So this is, so let's say we had a 50-50 arrangement with our employees as their health insurance benefit. Half of that would have been paid by them, right? And half of it would be paid by us, but that's not the arrangement that we have, right? We're mostly covering it. Right?
it is. And so to be clear,
But it could be.
what was not clear to some staff members in the Teamsters group was that the numbers we negotiated in the settlement with the teachers and with the Teamsters, that's later in the agenda to approve. That was 100% of the premium cost for last year. So now they're going to be paying out of pocket.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that 300 and some $1,000 will be incurred by mostly the employees.
Oh, okay, so it's not part of our.
Right. But it'll be back at the negotiations table in
Absolutely.
a year.
So kind of on that question, I was at the table with the Teamsters guy
Yes.
when he was really pushing to say
Yep.
we should do what we do because it's a lot cheaper and it's really great coverage.
Yeah.
When would we have to make that decision so that it would be included in the next negotiation?
Good question. So I believe we have opportunity to make a cutover starting January 1, which would be the fastest that it would happen. Or again, next fall. I could be wrong on that. I think there's a window for us to move from because right now our insurance year runs from September 1 to August 30th. If we transitioned to January 1 to December 31st, then how we navigate that transition and, that would be details that NIS would help us negotiate with the Teamsters and the Minnesota Healthcare Consortium and Medica and all of that. So we rely on their expertise to try to help us do
Would
that.
it also require then revisiting all the contracts to change?
If we went with the Teamsters, yes, it would. All of them, because there are things in there that, for example, we have some contracts that say you have to have an HSA plan. Well, Teamsters don't have an HSA option. So, yes, they would all, that's why we were like, no, we can't do this.
Yes.
We would have to go to all the different bargaining groups and negotiate language.
So what is that what was that they were mentioning? Like the Teamsters have some sort of
They're self-insured across the whole, for the whole country, so they,
gotcha.
I didn't quite understand.
It's a
all
very
of it,
different
but
structure.
It is, but he was like saying, and we can save you a lot of money and it's really good insurance.
Would that only apply to the Teamsters
Nope,
groups?
he said we can use it for everybody.
Well, we could, but we don't have to. So there's options there. And one of the nuances of the Teamsters that made us pause was everybody currently that does not have insurance through our plans, if we rolled to the Teamsters, they would grandfather them in as not having to have insurance. But everyone we hired from that point forward must take insurance. That's one of the parts of their policy. So we were like, whoa, wait a minute. Now you've got a spouse who's working at the county and they have good insurance and now you have to double insure. But that's how they keep their pool big and that's how they keep the rates down. So.
And you can opt out at the initial, like, so everyone currently
Right,
under contract could opt in or out
right.
in the first offering, but then
After that,
it's.
you're required to take health
It's
insurance.
very aggressive.
That's an
Like,
issue.
way to pull the market in, like,
But
or make
they
your
keep
market.
their rates really low.
The rate increases have been 2, 3, 4% over the
Right.
last
Not
decade.
40%.
So have you learned more, gotten more feedback about that since that meeting?
Yes, we've had a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
NIS has done a side-by-side look at it. And Teresa and I, along with Steve and Paige at NIS, we said, we don't have enough right now to make this transition now. We need to, because it's such a big change, we would need to sit down with our staff, look at the pros and the cons, have conversations.
Do the unions get any say, or is the union get any say with that?
Oh, yeah, it's negotiated.
Well, yes and no. The plan decision is a school board decision, which is why we're voting on that today. What gets negotiated at the bargaining table is language in contracts that demand certain things, like the minimum value of a plan. or
But I mean, the
premium.
provider, they don't have a
Well,
say
there's
necessarily.
like an insurance committee that helps like kind of talk through some of
There's a
this.
committee, but ultimately it's a board decision.
Right.
So if they said, for example, we don't want to switch and we're like, too bad, this is cheaper, we could just do that.
The board could do that.
I'm not saying that's gonna be the thing, but just theoretical.
Yeah. And then, they have levers to pull with contract language and negotiations and all the things like that. So you want to do it collaboratively as best you can.
Yeah.
I think I did, and this is like really out there because it's, coming from a cousin.
Yeah.
at work, but apparently, Chicago, County is like in the longest strike ever.
Yes,
And this is the issue that
Yes.
they don't want to move to this insurance.
I read that in the paper.
Yeah.
Chicago.
And I didn't get any, I mean, that was a very like in passing thing.
Yeah, I think I forwarded that one to Teresa because it caught my attention as well. And it is the Teamsters plan and
And yeah, and that is the issue, that is the primary issue of the strike. I
I
believe.
think you're right.
So,
And what don't they like about it?
that's like I said, I didn't get any farther on that.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
it's not like the most reliable source I'm getting it from. So.
Oh, I saw
Well,
that.
apparently it's real, we confirmed it's real.
Yeah, it's real,
So we're
yeah,
step
yeah.
one.
I read the article.
And the state is talking about maybe trying to do something similar-ish to that by basically pooling together
State plan.
all of the
Like-
educators into like a
Yes.
state-run plan. That's kind of that same sort of concept, right?
That is true. And that has been, Education Minnesota is pushing that very hard at the legislative level. They got funding for a study to be done this year. So I'm sure Teresa will get data requests for all the data related to that. What you need to understand as a board is there are some school districts, can you just touch the screen, Josh? There are some school districts for whom that would be kind of a non-issue, which I think is probably us. But there are some districts for whom it would be a huge budget add. Huge budget add. Because there are a lot of districts that don't provide what we provide in terms of benefits. So to move to a state plan for a district that's running that lean, i.e. like Hermantown, that would be an enormous budget add.
Wait a minute. You get hired at Richie Rich School, Hermantown, and you don't get health insurance?
Wayne, the superintendent there, complains all the time because bargaining groups, there's such a low percentage of people that take insurance.
Oh,
That in the negotiation, it always goes towards salary.
On
And so
salary.
they have the worst benefits in the entire Duluth area, and
Oh,
he sees this as a barrier for hiring staff. It's just so.
yeah, single staff, how does that work versus
Right,
everybody on your staff is a middle-aged married person?
yeah. And has a spouse with insurance.
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to see what comes of that study and where the state is
Yes,
potentially going to move before we start taking a drastic
Yes.
step of looking at the Teamsters thing, you know, it's like.
another reason why to just pump the brakes a little bit.
Well, can we get the info about why they're striking? That's what I want to know, what don't they like about it?
We'll dig, yeah, we'll dig.
It's gotta be something that they, you know.
For sure. I mean, it's worth knowing.
I mean, I can imagine it would be the mandatory. You having to take it, I mean, but.
But if it's that good, is that a really
Yeah, I
big
don't
deal?
know.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I can't, my cousin's an administrator there, so he's not striking.
Oh,
I can't. Even if I wanted to reach out to him, I wouldn't get that information.
right.
The tentative motion is written in your packet there.
The dark side of the Teamsters. It's the health insurance, not Jimmy Hoffa.
Office plan.
Yeah, I motion to accept the insurance policy.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 8.6 is to approve the 2026 through 2028 paraprofessional contract.
Just some highlights, both the next two motions here, both groups negotiated for a 3% raise and a 3% raise, so 3% each year in cost of living. Both groups increased insurance contribution from the district to the paras to basically what the teachers have for theirs, but it's prorated to their FTE. So it's a significantly smaller number. And then the minimum contribution in both groups was raised to $8,400. So that's a $2,000 increase for those people who are prorated so much that that number is super low. There's a minimum in their policies. In the Teamsters General, I think they accelerated some of their steps a little bit. And then interestingly added some language. I found this interesting. Added language that if you're a bus driver with school age kids in activities and there's a trip that your kid is on for like a game, that you get kind of priority to drive that trip. Which I suppose makes great sense for the couple of drivers that have kids that are playing sports.
Sure.
Just like, I hope they all really did agree to that, you know?
They all did. I asked Catherine a couple times, like, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't change how many trips they'll get. They'll just rotate them.
Yeah.
But
Were you guys like denying people, like you can't work to your kid's game?
oh no, they do it by seniority and it's on a rotation.
Oh, so it could have been random.
Yeah.
They also.
Were people really turning down the thing? Like, hey, can we switch? No, I'm taking that shift. Very confused by that in a small place like this.
Right.
They also wanted to add some sort of standard language that Teamsters like about workplace safety, which was just kind of acknowledging, I think, what we already believe in and try to do, but also protecting rights on picking and stuff. And they like to see that in all their contracts, so it's kind of.
Boilerplate language from the union.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. And who was on the team for these from the board?
Reno.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it was fast,
One day.
one day for both of them.
I don't know, you guys are like messing around as teachers, taking that long.
Well, I was on that one too.
Okay,
So we'll take these one at a time, I suppose, here. So we'll do 8.6, which is the paraprofessional.
8.5, or do I have a different, do I have an older one?
you might have an older one.
Okay, well, whatever it is, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, 8.7 is to approve the 26-28 Teamsters multi-role agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, 8.8 is to approve 2-year propane agreement.
Recommendation from Tom Nelson is to approve a 2-year propane bid from Thompson/Como Oil and Propane. They were half a cent different in their one number. They were the same on their other number. The half a cent cost difference, he figures, would be eaten up just by having to switch over equipment to superior fuel, because we'd have to switch out our tanks and all that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
he's, we already have all the equipment. We have it. And he was more comfortable with a 2-year bid, not a 5-year bid.
Sure. Yeah, I did the math on that. I think it was like $800.
Right, and it costs
On the
several
total.
thousand to flip out equipment.
Yeah,
So,
so,
So it's cool, you don't own your tanks?
we may own one. We have multiple.
Yeah,
We don't own all. We don't own all of them. That's for sure.
so he wanted the Thompson.
Thompson Como.
I'll make a motion to accept the Thompson Como gas proposal.
I'll second.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Josh.
Opposed, motion carries. All right. 8.9 is approved the 26-27 Cook County Middle School / Cook County High School student handbook.
We have 4 handbooks to rip through.
Okay,
How come these weren't first? This poor guy had to go through all this
I
stuff.
thought of that as I looked at them. I was like, oh shoot, we should have just.
well, you know, he just wanted to hang out. It's good for him,
I'd
right?
like to know what we're paying for propane.
Health insurance.
All right, well, we'll hand it over to you, Josh, if there's anything you want to highlight or.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have access to it. I'll just, the brief overview. We struck a lot of the stuff out of the handbook just because there were some redundancies that we noticed. Also, we removed where there was like straight school board policy, like pasted in there. Just taking that out of the student handbook doesn't mean that that doesn't still rule. It made for a 53-page student handbook. And so just trying to make that a little bit more efficient. So a couple of additions that I did just want to point out is if you scroll down to what is numbered page 15. This is a completely new edition. It's a student in good standing policy. And so currently what happens is when we have like dances and stuff like that, if a student wants to bring another person from a different school, they have to fill out a form where the school administrator, I fill these out for our students all the time, where I put my name down on paper that says this student is in good standing. You got no worries for them to be at your school to answer your activity, that type of stuff. And so, but we don't have any kind of like filtering process or accountability process for our own students. And so what this is saying is that, if you are not a student in good standing, and it kind of lays out what that means. You may not be allowed to purchase a ticket to the homecoming dance. You may not be allowed to purchase a ticket to ride the fan bus to the state football game or something like that, because as it defines in here, you are a truant student. You have an active truant case, which means you aren't coming to school like you're supposed to be coming to. You may have multiple like higher level behavioral referral infractions that might demonstrate that you're not making good choices. You may be falling behind academically in school and not getting those things done. And so it's hopefully going to be an accountability piece that motivates students to engage more in doing the right thing. And so that is kind of what that policy is.
Truant students clamoring to get into prom or?
Yeah, actually,
Really?
I mean,
Haven't seen you all year, dude, but why not go to
I'm gonna
prom?
ride the bus to the cities.
and like anything in here, how this helps us is that it helps with a little bit more accountability where like, it's not to say that if you are actively truant, like absolutely not, but it's going to force a conversation with school administration. It's like bring family in, bring student in. Let's talk about an improvement plan. Like let's be making progress. You might not be able to get there by the time the dance happens, but if we're seeing improvement, like, yeah, we'll still do it. And that's really kind of trying to force that a little bit more. So.
I noticed that you referenced the good standing throughout the open lunch and different places.
Yes.
So it did clean that up a lot.
It did.
A lot of text out that was
Yes.
kind of redundant.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? There's some other things I want to point out, but any other questions specifically about that?
Well, I guess I'm just curious, like I'll be curious to see in a year, like how that plays out,
Sure.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, because obviously you want it to be like a carrot, right? Where you want people to motivate them. You don't want it to be like to have the opposite effect where
Right.
like then now they're just disengaged
Right.
even more.
Exactly.
And so they fall off, right?
Yep.
Some of these things like athletics are what keeps kids coming to school, right?
Yeah.
We obviously don't want to preempt that.
Yep.
But that's about.
And our students who are already engaged in like athletics and extracurriculars, that is the motivating piece, right?
For sure. Cool.
All right, and then the next big one, I guess, cell phone policy. We are going to not allow any cell phones at all. Oh, sorry. When we go to our like tiered levels of discipline, we did add in use of AI. So if you go to like page 34, 35, it is now a level 3 offense. If students create or share AI generated or AI altered images, recordings and videos depicting another person without their consent, whether the image is real or AI generated. That's happening now. And so those are things, it's recordings, AI software where you can do a recording and get a person's voice pattern and then type in speech and it will be your voice saying the words that somebody else typed in. So those types. So, thankfully we haven't had something like that happen here yet, but if it does, we'll be prepared for that. So that was something, a lot of strike-throughs. I must have skipped over the cell phone policy. Well, here's the cell phone policy. For middle school students, are not going to be allowed out at all from 7:45 to 3:15. And if they are seen at school, it's not even going to be a behavior write-up or anything like that. It's not going to be a call home. It's just going to be a confiscation of the phone. And then the students can pick them up at the end of the day. And it can be as simple as that. If it does become a bigger issue because the student doesn't want to give their phone up for the day and that type of thing, well, then there may be like a discipline referral or a call home at that point. But basically what we're saying, middle school, so now K through 8, personal technology devices not allowed at all and out in school at all. And we did add in there too, also the smart glasses now that have cameras and capabilities.
Does it include like watches?
So the watches, the way those are handled is watches can be turned to dumb mode essentially. So like with my own kids at 7:45, all of the smart features turn off until 3:15 and then it just serves as a watch. It's hard the watches are trickier because there's some watches that are just fine and there's some that aren't. And so really the way that we work through that is if the watch is being used as a smartwatch, then we're going to assume that it's not. But if we do see you texting or if, that type of thing, then it's personal technology use and that's not allowed.
Okay.
I think having it so absolute, if you use it, we're gonna take it.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that there will be any teachers that will embrace it? I saw in the,
Well,
I
and
saw in the stat, in the teacher one that you kind of had reference to that.
and not just teachers too. This is staff. This is any adult. Like, we all need to help hold our kids accountable and support them. And so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think I have some colleagues and some friends in other schools who've really kind of come down on the cell phones, and if there's consistency, the kids fall in line real quickly once their phone's been confiscated a couple of times. They don't want that to happen, so they don't become as big of an issue. So we'll see how it goes.
And then high school level, what's the perimeter?
High school level, it's still what it has been, where during classroom time, they're not allowed out, but they can have them out during lunch, during passing time, that type of thing. I'll be upfront, like, we're gonna see how middle school goes, and then next year we're planning on adding this to the high school as well. I'm just kind of taking it in steps.
Sure. Okay,
There's always the nuance of the junior that's responsible for their little kid, and you know, it's harder with high school kids, but we'll see. Some schools are doing it.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so those were the big kind of changes, additions that I wanted to point out. Oh yeah, the cell phone stuff, that's on page 29 if you did want to like look through it, but yeah, that's the middle school, high school student handbook updates.
does it make sense to specifically like call out the watches? Like, you kind of explained that just now on how you were gonna handle that.
You mean in the handbook?
Yeah, does it make sense to highlight that so that when parents
Sure.
and kids are looking at this and they don't see those mentioned?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just for like a clarity perspective.
Makes sense.
you
Yeah,
know?
I'm gonna add that
Since you called
comment.
out the glasses, you know.
Right,
I did point out the glasses, yes, yeah. Cool.
like how,
That's fair, yep.
like what's the, if you use it like this, that's okay, but if you cross the line now, you're sort of.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, I've got that comment to add.
all right,
I noticed all the language around harassment and violence stuff too got moved up into a simpler to manage table.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the whole,
it was pretty wordy before.
that was something that we added last year, the whole harassment assessment tool, on page 37. That was an addition last year, and it's helpful to use with students and families.
okay. Let's see, I suppose we're gonna take these one at a time. So if there aren't any other questions on the middle school, high school, we'll just need a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, 8.10 is to approve the 26-27 Sawtooth Elementary book.
Mostly, again, just striking a lot of repetitive, and actually inaccurate information, correcting some of it. So, a lot of the changes, just like accurate start and stop time, 7:45 to 8 a.m. in the morning for drop off. There was, some different times posted in there. One of the things that we're asking families to do, because this handbook is really for families, more so than it is for students. One of the things that we've seen is like, end of the day plans coming in at a flurry, changing, phone calls, students even coming to the office to call to see if they can change their plans. We're trying to tamp down that because it's a lot, and it gets really tricky and disruptive in the main office. And so, there's some language on page 4 there, just asking families, make sure you get any change in plans by 2:00. After that, we may not be able to communicate with all the parties. The other big change is if you go again into the kind of the behavior breakdown of what different behaviors are, that starts on page 21. The elementary handbook reflected a lot like what the secondary handbook looked like, where first offense, second offense, third offense. And the last few years, we've really been adopting more of a PBIS model, trying to engage, teachers and students and families initially in the classroom, try to keep kids in the classroom, that type of stuff. So there's not a first offense often, unless it's a really high level thing, that's gonna involve the principal or the dean to like intervene with the behavior. We really want to try to have the kids work that out in the classroom. That's one of the reasons why we're adopting that new SEL curriculum that I mentioned earlier tonight. And so striking some of that language to make it more kind of elementary appropriate. And other than that, not a whole ton of changes to the SATU handbook.
I guess the same comment regarding the watches might be worth like highlighting in this one too, in particular, because it seems like that technology is used more in
Definitely.
that age range.
Yep.
And they'll be like looking at that. So the definition of an electronic device could include
Yep.
a watch, cell
Yep.
phone, whatever,
Just thinking about how that's gonna evolve over the next 20 years.
right?
Definition of an electronic device.
There's chip in my brain.
Yeah. Exactly, like,
No.
Come in, put magnets to their heads.
any other questions or comments on this from anybody?
No,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, 8.11 is to approve the 26-27 faculty handbook.
All right, so again, there's just a lot of redundancies in this that we are eliminating some minor corrections. I guess the first big new thing that's being added in is some kind of a stated policy on staff use of artificial intelligence. And that is on page 7. Basically what this is communicating is that there are approved artificial intelligence platforms that the school has approved that teachers can use. It's not all of them. And it's also just spelling out in the handbook that at no time in any platform should any personally identifiable data ever be entered into an AI platform. And then also the other big thing is, as a teacher being active in communicating with students, what is the appropriate level of AI use when it comes to assignments in your class? We're not necessarily adopting this now this year, but some schools have adopted like a green light, yellow light, red light policy around it. And, I'm sure you understand what that means, but like having that be part of the conversation when it comes to assessments and stuff like that, because
Proactively.
what's that?
Proactive.
Yeah. And that's an expectation on staff now, is to have that conversation instead of, something gets submitted, gets graded.
Gotcha.
It seems like, oh, this is AI generated. Come back and say, well, you just used AI to write this. Now it's a 0 type thing. And so just because it's a conversation that we have to have. It's being used. It's here. Kids are using it. Adults are using it. And so we just need to start putting some structure around how we're using it. And so, yeah, so that's an addition. Another thing that we're talking about here is student technology use. We're going to be asking staff to be more directive in when students are using technology. And one of the things we want to do is, like, anytime that a student is using their laptop, it's only for school purposes. And so we want to start establishing the practice, even in our elementary school too, with some of our grades that have laptops and stuff, is that not just coming in and flipping it open and like playing a game on it or something like that. It's only being used for school stuff. And so just getting teachers in the practice and expectation of like, okay, now's the right time to take out your laptop. Or if you see a laptop open and it's not needed, directing students to close it and put it away and that type of stuff. Screens are used a lot in schools now, and now the question and concern is, how much they're being used, and making sure that if we are using them, it's for what we want to use them for, and eliminating all those extra screen time opportunities as best we can. Some more structure just around expectations on how our middle school and high school faculty are are updating grade books and communicating with families through that. There's some additions there. We are changing over our absence system this year, how teachers prepare for an absence. It should be way more efficient for everybody involved. But that's highlighted there on page 9. That's a new thing. Again, the student cell phone policy and enforcement on page 10, just saying that, you know, we're going to confiscate it if we see it. And hopefully it's not a big deal. Kids can pick it up at the end of the day. And then beyond that, I don't think there is much more on the faculty handbook.
One thing that just came to mind was Minnesota's new like anti-grooming legislation. And I think that maybe was the reason why or one of the things that got updated in policy 423, employee-student relationships.
Yeah, no texting.
I noticed that it at least mentions like grooming as prohibited under Minnesota statutes, like in terms of like actions that are violating the policy. I didn't know, I haven't read that legislation and what that looks like and how that's being handled in like reporting or anything like that. I don't know if there's a reporting requirement for colleagues
Yeah.
or anything like that. Is there something like that makes sense to put into this handbook? I don't know. It just, I haven't looked into that at all. It's just a thought that occurred to me.
It's law.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it supersedes handbook anyway, so.
Sure.
You know.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's the
It
law.
falls under ethical standards, actually. isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did notice that there was a definite statement about under no circumstances was a teacher supposed to text. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of fits in that category.
And before the handbook said, if you are going to text, make sure you have permission. And what we're saying now is like, you should never text because we all have emails. Our extracurriculars now they're adopting a new like communication system that's like open and viewable and that type of stuff. So there should be no personal texting. Obviously it's a small town, right? So like if you're texting your niece and nephew, that's different, but like as a professional at school, no texting. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a separate handbook for athletics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for coaches or for students?
Coaches.
Yes. Stephen made that last year. Yes.
For the first time.
For the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate anything in here being like an issue, like as you roll this out?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely more like structure and focus on things like expectations on how often people are updating grade books. Did put in here, I hope it's not an issue, but like when we're in front of students, like as staff, like we can't be on our personal electronic devices. Like so I hope that's not anything that's
And I think that's actually a nice addition.
oh yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
If we're saying kids can't be on
Right,
it, then
right.
staff should.
Yeah, I mean, the only other big thing really here is this how to report your sub absence, and that I think that's going to be a welcome thing. It's going to be way more efficient.
Oh
And
yeah, they kind of asked for that during
The what?
didn't the sub absence, all that.
Yeah.
They asked for more an update in the
yeah,
in the process, I think.
And I mean, obviously, like with this handbook in particular, that's why I'm wondering just, where there could maybe be some, potholes that you don't want to stumble into. Just in terms of like rolling it out, what's the communication piece, just to make sure that people are, not surprised by anything or whatever, you know what I mean?
and we roll that out in workshop week. I'll go through the additions and stuff, like definitely highlight those. And then there is a page at the end here where folks sign and say, we've read and understand and agree.
Sure. Okay, cool. Other questions or comments? Okay.
Faculty handbook.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, 8.12, we have approval of the 26-27 employee handbook.
There really aren't any changes. It's just
No.
kind of a repeat of last year.
Okay,
That one, Kay and Teresa went through quick.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right,
There is no 813 if you're looking at the other.
nope, I don't see that on either of mine here.
It was until about 3 hours ago.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then we'll move on to 9.0 personnel. 9.1 is our slate of hires and resignations, etc. Couple of new hires on here.
Kinsey is a male, goes by Matt.
Okay,
That was not easy to decipher on paper.
I'll second.
Goes by Matt Markusich.
okay. Was that somebody already in the community or they
They're moving here.
moving here for them?
Can't remember where from.
They're, yes, they're moving here.
Okay. And for that role, are they licensed?
So they're not with a teaching degree, so they're getting their tier, I think they're getting their tier 2.
2.
But they're being hired, I'm assuming it says as a paraprofessional.
Yeah, that's not on.
And then they're going to cover for our long-term absence.
Gotcha. Okay,
And then go back to paraprofessional when that job is done.
gotcha. Okay, cool.
There. Now it says that.
Perfect. Okay, great, perfect.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those
Yeah.
opposed, motion carries.
You're up there.
I'll make the motion to adjourn. And, ooh, it was a long one.
6:37, we're adjourned.
I'd have been real cranky if it was like we didn't have the smoke and it was a beautiful sunny 70-degree July day like it should be.
Yeah, it's not so bad